welcome to season 10 of the Jackie Walker Show. Today's guest been a dream guest of mine. You've seen her in South Pacific Bridges, Nice Book, The Pajama Gang, and many others. Please welcome Kelli. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, I'm glad.
How did you get started in the business?
It's been so long. No, I just loved singing and acting in Oklahoma. I grew up in Oklahoma. And I went to school for opera. And then I packed my bags and moved to New York City with dreams of being on the Broadway stage.
Now, you must do many high school plays. What was some of the high school plays that you were in, and what was your favorite to do?
The first one I did was Carousel, and then I did West Side Story, and I did Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. My favorite was West Side Story. I think I'll never get to play the role again because I'm not Puerto Rican, but I got to play it once, and the music is so beautiful. You know.
Were your parents supportive?
Oh yeah, just like yours.
You said, I want to be an actress. I'm moving to New York. They must have been crazy.
I was just going to say, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now that I have kids of my own, I can't imagine one of them saying to me, I'm going to pack my 2 suitcases and move all the way across the country to a city I've never even visited. I only visited it once before I moved here. And they did, but they knew that I had to try, and they were there every minute, every step along the way in support. And they've visited me. They're here right now, actually, visiting for the Tonys. So it's worked out. It worked out, thank goodness.
When you came here, who did you stay with then?
A good friend of mine on his couch for 1 month until I found my own place. Well, they let us, 2 friends from Summerstock out in Kansas, let us stay at their apartment for 1 month.
How long did it take you to get a job?
I ended up getting a job very quickly in a little production out of town. Financially, it paid me nothing, so I did really lean on my parents for a while. But I got my first big Broadway tour within about 6 months, and then I went on tour, and they brought me back into Broadway. So.
Was that Jack going?
Yes. You've done your research.
Who was in playing, and who was playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
On the road, on the tour, it was Chuck Wagner. But on Broadway, when I came back into the show, it was Sebastian Bach and then David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
David Hasselhoff.
We the one with Robert Wagner.
Yeah, Jack Wagner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was right before I got there. I missed him. I got Sebastian Bach and David Hasselhoff. But Rob Evans did it on Monday. He was great.
So you had to put one of your roles for people to remember in the time capsule. What would it be?
Oh gosh, that's a good question, Jesse. Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes as actors, we love things differently than the public loves things. So I think that if I could answer and say what I think people would expect or remember me for, I might have to put Nellie Forbush in the time capsule. But I would put Francesca Johnson in the time capsule.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. It's my best role, my favorite role ever.
Thinking of Nellie Forbush, a lot of people played it before you. Mary Martin, Missy Gaynor, Reba. How do you make a role yours and not like the others?
That's a good question. I think that it's important to talk about what you're working from is the source material and not a film or another version. You're working from what's written on a page. And so I didn't go back and watch the movie. I never saw Reba do it. I just read my script and the book, the James Michener novel, and I read about it and decided who I wanted her to be. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Mimi, I called her, was from Arkansas. And right around the time, she would be the same age as the fictitious character there, the fictional character. And so I based it on her, and so I made it my own.
Did you see any other productions of it before?
Did I see them?
Any other productions?
Productions. No, I'd never done the role before.
Oh. Because I was just wondering, did it seem if it would have changed the role in any way, since it was a theater in the lab?
That's great. I mean, Bart Scher, who directed it, directed us in the round. Same thing as Piazza, with the people. It changed. We tried to change the show itself by digging into the truth of it a little bit more, exposing some of the problems in it, like not the problems in the show, but the problems socially at the time, the issue of race and things like that. So we made it a little bit. We hoped to make it a little deeper. Doing it in the round didn't change it as much as except it just, I think, hopefully enhanced the experience because you could see it from all different viewpoints. But I think we just tried to tell the truth of it a little bit more and not gloss it over like you can do and high schools do and little kids do it and they just sing "I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair." But we really focused in on the real problem, the real story.
What's your favorite revival to do? If you had to pick any.
If I had to choose, you can't make me choose. I had the most fun doing the Pajama Game.
Of course, Eric.
Yes. I mean, I had a blast doing that, but that's a really hard one because I love Carousel. I love South Pacific. The revivals make me happy. They make me feel like I'm at home. So they're all my favorite.
Could you elaborate what constitutes a blast? When you're saying having a blast, I mean, what makes it fun versus a job?
Well, that's a great question. When you're having just pure fun, which is silly fun, which is easy to do, that's one way of doing it, but that doesn't last you too long. Mm-hmm. That unless you start to just really, like in Nice Work, if you can get it. It was a blast because we constantly improv'd and changed it up and made each other laugh and on stage. The reason why Pajama Game was a blast but also an artistic challenge for me was because Harry was such a musician and smart musician that he encouraged us to do the same thing, which was to change it up and improv with each other musically. And when you do that, it's like being on a cliff. You're scared of it. But then if you succeed, it can be the most fun. So he really taught me how to be free with my music and try new things and take the melody in a different direction. And that taught me a lot about just being a musician. So the real blast comes from the fun matched with the artistic creativity kind of in there. If you're just doing something and it's fun and silly, that's fun for a while. But I could have done Pajama Game for a lot longer, probably.
You met Mom and him this morning, and I heard you want to tell that story.
That story? The first time I met him. He became a very important person in my life. But the first time I met him, I didn't know who he was. I knew the name kind of, but I didn't know what he looked like or anything. I just moved to the city, and I auditioned for him, but I couldn't get an audition for the show. And so I knocked on the door. It was my lunch break from my other show I was doing, but it was their lunch break too. Is this the story? I was doing Follies. We were in rehearsal, and I had a lunch break from 1 to 2. So I ran over to the audition, and I knocked on the door, and he answered the door, but I didn't know who he was. And I said, "You've got to see me. You've got to see me for Susan. I've got to have this role." And he said, "We're on our lunch break. We're not doing any auditions."
Oh, wow.
So we were both on our lunch break. I said, "No, you don't understand. I'm your girl. I can't believe I don't know why I got so bold." But he shut the door and he came back, and then he came back and he said, "Okay, we'll see you. But our pianist has gone to lunch, so I'm going to have to play for you."
Oh, my
And I said, "Okay, you'll do." Didn't know who he was. So he sat down and played for me, and he wasn't playing fast enough for me, and I think I may have even snapped at him because I was so nervous. It all was nerves. It wasn't really bold, but he loves that story. He used to tell it in our concerts that we did, and he would laugh about it, and I ended up getting the job, but I think it was probably because they thought it was interesting that I was so ignorant and bold. It was fun.
Good story.
Well, getting back to self-respect for a minute, you had the 1940s hairstyle, and you chose, I heard a story that you chose to cut it yourself instead of wearing a wig.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, it's the same reason why I wanted to dye my hair brown this year. I'm not for any kind of, and I didn't do it, but I just wanted to feel, you feel sometimes if you embody something outside of the work, you feel it a little bit more in the work. And, I couldn't think of myself with all this long hair. I wanted to be fun and have a short haircut like Nellie Forbush. I cut my hair off, and then I ended up wearing a wig anyway because we needed to protect the mic with the shower, the microphone. There was nowhere to wear a microphone in my own hair and then wash my hair because the microphone would gone. So I actually was wearing a wig. People always wonder about how we did this. And then we wore waterproof mics under the wig. And then I washed the wig, but the mics were protected. So I ended up, but my short hair fit under the wig better anyway, so it worked out. And I liked the short hair for a while.
It's a nice change.
Yeah.
Mother,
how do you split your time between your two kids and being a Broadway star that's been nominated for 3 Tony or 2?
I just consider that they feed each other. I consider both of them the greatest things in my life, my kids, my family, and my work. And I used to feel really guilty about it, working while I had kids, and then I started learning to embrace it because I'm a fuller and happier person when I'm singing. I mean, I've been singing my whole life and acting, and I bring that home to them, and hopefully that will feed them, and they'll decide that they want to go do something that they dream of doing, and so now I'm really proud to have both things. It's a good balance. It's hard. It's not always easy, but I have good help.
Yeah, I have a friend, 2 friends, who's a married couple, and she did Les Mis for a number of years and Phantom, and when she decided to have kids, she says, "I'm done. When I get the bug, I get the bug again. If I don't. You go out, do what you need to do. I'm happy at home."
she might know them. You could tell them.
Do you know Ron Barbara Shop?
Tell them who they are.
They're the 2 married Mariuses and Covettes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They met and they got married.
Oh, wow. I
They
love
doing
it.
Les Mis.
Doing the show. Oh, I
But
love
they're
it.
like married 20 years now.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't know them, but that's amazing.
I'm thinking, how you're married to an actor?
Yeah, well, he once was an actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you could do any musical with him, what would it be?
We've decided we shouldn't work together, probably. We're really good at home. He actually he would be a great Robert. in Bridges of Madison County because he is kind of like Robert. He's a musician, kind of artistic, nomadic kind of fella, and he is the love of my life. So that would have worked out well. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you did two plays with Matthew Morrison, who I know. I know him because I saw him like 15 times in his play, and he knows me. And is it easier working with somebody that you already have chemistry with versus somebody you gotta, make up the chemistry on the first day of rehearsals?
It's much easier because you already started a good point, and then you can grow from even there. So wherever you start from, you have to go up. So if you've never met them, you start down here and you have to work it. But when Matt and I come back together, we know each other so well that we can just build from there. So it's easier.
How do you pick your musicals that you do?
That's a good question. If I know something's going to happen, I always want to do something opposite from what I've just done.
Yeah.
And I knew that Bridges was coming, so I chose to do Nice Work If You Can Get It because it was a comedy and she was a silly, kind of tomboyish girl, and then I knew I'd be playing a dramatic Italian woman. So next, I want to go the other way again. So I try to choose things that are challenging and new things.
I heard your book with plays up to 2016. Is that true?
I guess so, yeah.
That's what I just heard. Jason Robert Brown wrote Bridges just for you. Is it easier when somebody wants to write a musical with you in mind versus one that you gotta audition for?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if I felt it was easier or harder because when it's written for you, you feel the pressure of finding something that's worthy. I mean, doing it as well as the writer. Hope that you do. If he writes it for you, you better be good in it. But in doing something that's already been written, there's challenges to that too. They're both really rewarding, but having something written for you is so it just means so much creatively because like Jason, he listened to me and we collaborated and so you feel like you're a part of it, which just makes it really special. The creation.
That what Derek, like, the guy who played
Derek. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who played Michael.
Yes.
He said it was like you said, very easy because he listened to you and take your feedback and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it was easy.
Now, if you could pick a musical to do with Apollo again.
With Paolo. Oh gosh, I love Paolo. He's wonderful.
We do too.
Well, it would be fun if it was a new one. That was brand new. I can't think of something right off the top of my head that I think would be perfect. But you know what I'd love to do is I'd love to do an opera with Paolo. Yeah.
We love Apollo. We saw the South Pacific 3 times.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
And we just love it when he sings so much.
Yeah. Beautiful, right?
Yeah,
I loved it too, and I got to stand and listen to it every night. It never got old. Never.
We went to see 3 times because you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Because of you.
Oh, thank you.
And all 3 times you weren't there.
Yeah, you were.
Oh. really? Was that when I went to have my baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because either you were out on vacation, you had a baby.
So sorry.
Then you were out on vacation again.
Oh no, I didn't take 2 vacations. I don't know what that was. Oh, well.
And then the second time, you and Apollo were both out.
Oh my gosh.
Did you act pregnant? Did you
I
fall
did it
pregnant?
until I was 5.5 months pregnant.
In that particular role?
Yes, in the swimming suit. Believe it or not. But
I
I didn't. It was my
could
first
believe
baby.
it.
I wasn't showing it very much. I mean,
you did carousel and concert. And you mentioned you did it in high school too. Is doing a concert version of a play easier than doing a full-out production?
yes. Well, except for the fact that these concert productions that we only had about 9 days to rehearse during the whole thing. So.
I'm doing one in October with my group, and we're only rehearsing 2 weeks.
Yeah. So there's a lot to learn, but it's in the concert version, the Carousel and the My Fair Lady, they were fully staged as well. They call them a concert, but they're fully staged. But yeah, it's a little easier, and exciting because you only get about four pops at it. So
Yeah, the guy I mentioned before who married 20 years and met in Langley's, he just did Sweetie Todd with Emma Thompson,
he did that one.
Kristen Boyle.
Yeah.
He says they were only gonna rehearse for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
then go. Yeah. And then have it filmed.
Yeah, and that what I'm trying to do with my next play. What is your warm-up routine when you get to the theater? Do you vocal warm-up, then get into costume and what is it like for you?
I usually start. I start with if I'm really doing all that due diligence. I will stretch my body. I'll do like some yoga and things like that because that really warms up my voice too. And then you have to do hair and makeup, and then right before I get dressed, I'll do some vocal exercises. Sometimes less than I should, and then I'll get dressed and head out there. And as I walk to the stage, I usually go,
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. Do you have the same dresser all the time?
Well, for the last 2 shows, but
because I know Kristen Boyle and Laura Osnick, they have their favorite directors that they grandfather in to their contract that they won't do a musical or a play without their dress.
I feel the same way. Her name's Fran Curry, and I don't know, she's awesome. She's my teammate. Yeah, she's an amazing woman.
Would you ever consider doing a rock musical and get away from the traditional? Would you ever do Velma and Hairspray?
Do you think anyone would come to see it? Yes, the answer is yes. I would do anything. I would do any of it. I would. It just depends on. I want to sing healthily, and I want to. But I would do any role. I want to be challenged.
Yeah. Alan Cummings just came back to cabaret after 20 years. If you had to come back in any role, what would it be after 20 years?
Oh, I could probably Francesca. I could probably still pull it off. You know, recently they're talking about maybe doing an anniversary concert of Light in the Piazza, and I think it's going to be pretty hard for me to pull off playing Clara, but after all these years. But yeah, probably Bridges in Madison County.
Your second solo album just came out. How do you pick your music for your albums versus your musicals that you do?
The first time I made an album, it was a lot of choices. Harry Connick helped me make the first album, so we chose together. The second album was basically an album of the songs I was singing in my solo cabaret show. So I put those songs together based on kind of my story, my journey through this bit from coming to New York and here. And so I basically then took those songs and we put them on an album.
Yeah. You must have done that Pacific.
With what?
You think?
Oh, with South Pacific.
Yeah. Did you ever do something on your albums without Pacific?
Oh, you know what I did? I did. You know, I did this thing called what I call the man songs, where I took songs that were written for men and I sang them. And one of them was "This Nearly Was Mine," and that's on my album.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
You did your next role is the King and I know you can't talk a lot about it, but is there anything that you could talk about?
Before the interview, you were trying to get it out of me. Who was playing the king? It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I just think it's going to be, you know, knowing how South Pacific was created with Bart Shear at Lincoln Center with these great musicians. I really think and hope that King and I will be done in that most glorious, respectful way with lots of musicians and a beautiful staging. And I really have a great hope for it to be something very grand and big and beautiful.
Do you know it? Is it going to be in the lounge yet?
It will. It will be at the Vivian Beaumont, which is in the Thrust stage, yeah.
Yeah, I love that theater.
Isn't it great? Yeah.
It's one of my favorite theaters to go to.
Me too.
And it has that rolling backstage where it reveals the orchestra.
Yeah, in South Pacific. I don't know if they'll do that again, but it would be nice.
Yeah. Now you are nominated for 2 Tonys. How did it feel to be unnominated again?
Well, this is going to make... Well, I don't mean to be self-serving here, but did you know this is my 5th Tony nomination?
I did.
You did? Were you were testing me? No. It feels amazing. It never gets old. It makes me feel grateful, and it makes me feel... I hate to use the word validated, but it makes me feel good about the choices I've made. So, but you know what? I do know for a fact that being nominated for a Tony... the talent in this city and in this country, you don't need a Tony nomination to tell you that you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So, but I'm proud. I'm very proud.
I think you're gonna get it.
Jesse, if only I could get it just to see you smile, you know. But I won't hold my breath.
He said you're the favorite.
Well, I don't know that I am. I don't know.
That was for one comic that you're the favorite.
Who does? Who said that?
Paul
Wantoric? Well, that's very nice. Paul's a good friend of mine, so maybe he's just saying things. But it would be nice, but I won't, it's not going to keep me from doing what I love, so either way.
We'll know tomorrow.
We'll know tomorrow night.
Yeah. I would just like to thank you for doing this. And I wish you like tomorrow night. This is the season finale of the Jetly Walker Show. See you in a few weeks where we'll be at Disneyland. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.